Apache woman with 3 children. Can we warm ourselves? Mike's answer changed everything that night. Watch until the finish for the strong lesson. Subscribe for more touching, real-like border tales. Hey there, before we dive into this tale, where are you hearing this story from and what time is it right now? If you're enjoying these kinds of stories, please like and subscribe to catch more. The evening pushed down on the fields like a big load, quiet and unkind. The breeze sliced through the blackness, sneaking through the gaps of a tiny wooden house that stood by itself, far from any place. Inside, Mike added the fire one final piece of wood and drew his jacket closer around his body. Winter had arrived soon that year, and out here, chill wasn't just uneasy, it was fatal. He had learned that teaching long before, and it had left marks deeper than the ones on his palms. Just as he spun to secure the entrance for the evening, a noise halted him frozen. A tap, gentle at first, nearly eaten by the breeze. Then another, stronger this time. No one arrived out this far after sundown, unless they were needy or risky. His palm floated near the gun by the barrier as he gently opened the entrance. Standing in the dim shine of fire glow was an Apache woman. Her black locks were messy and covered with frost, her face tight with tiredness. 3 little kids stood near behind her, squeezed together for heat, their slim covers hardly stopping the icy wind. The smallest could not have been more than 4, his fingers red and shaking. The woman met Mike's gaze, not with rage or worry, but with something much worse, silent need. "Can we warm ourselves?" she asked, her tone hardly louder than the breeze. The terms hit him harder than any danger could have. He had heard requests before, but never one so basic, so normal. His gaze fell to the kids. They were trembling without control, mouths turning blue, inhales short and quick. For a second, the earth seemed to pause its air, waiting for his reply. Allowing them inside could bring problems. Apache groups were being chased, accused, pushed from spot to spot. Anyone aiding them risked becoming a goal. He knew that. Every feeling told him to close the entrance, to guard himself, to live another evening by himself. But the freeze didn't mind about worry or rules. It only minded about moments. The woman strengthened her hold on the kids, preparing herself for denial. Mike felt something move within him, something he thought had iced long before. Without a term, he moved back from the opening. The fire shine poured out into the blackness, covering the kids in its light. "Come in," he said softly. In that instant, he didn't know it yet, but the pick he made would repeat far beyond that evening, altering lives in ways none of them could picture. "Hey, listener, right in the middle of this gripping account, can you tell me where you're tuning in from and what the clock says there? Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if this is pulling at your heartstrings." The fire popped and sparked as the house entrance shut behind them, blocking out the yelling breeze. Heat gradually filled the small space, and for the first time in days, the kids stopped trembling. They stood still at first, uncertain if the protection was true or something that might fade if they shifted too fast. Mike observed as the biggest kid carefully moved nearer to the fire, holding his small sister's palm, as if scared the blazes might vanish. The Apache woman said nothing. She remained near the entrance, her spine straight, gaze always shifting, checking every noise and shade. Years of living had taught her not to ease, not even for heat. Mike saw how she placed herself between him and the kids, prepared to protect them if she must. He filled liquid into a metal mug and gave it to her. After a second's pause, she accepted it with both palms, nodding once in quiet thanks. As the kids heated, their faces gained shade. The smallest breathed softly and rested against his mother's limb, finally allowing weariness to draw him toward rest. Mike felt a pressure in his chest he hadn't awaited. He turned away and placed another piece of wood to the fire, acting to concentrate on the blazes. Then a noise sliced through the calm, weak but clear. A steed. Somewhere past the house, a low call floated through the evening air. The Apache woman stiffened right away. Her gaze grew wide and terror flashed across her face like a bolt. She hurried to the kids, drawing them near, her tone falling to a worried murmur. "They are near," she said. "If they discover us, they will take my boys or end us all." Mike's palm shifted slowly toward his gun. He had heard stories of groups and reward seekers wandering these areas. Following anyone they chose didn't fit. He moved toward the glass and looked through the ice-covered pane. The moonglow showed faint forms in the distance, shades moving where no shades should be. Inside, the kids felt the strain and gathered together. The biggest looked up at Mike, gaze wide, seeking his face for solutions. For a second, Mike felt the burden of the choice he had made. Allowing them inside had been the simple part. Guarding them would be something different entirely. He shut the glass and turned back to the woman. "Stay by the fire," he said softly, "no matter what you hear." The breeze yelled again, hiding the noises outside, but the threat was true and shifting closer. The heat in the house now held a different kind of warmth, the kind that comes before harm. The evening was far from finished, and whatever waited past the entrance would test just how far Mike was willing to go for 4 unknowns who had requested nothing more than a second of heat. Mike eased the house entrance open just enough to look into the blackness, the chill biting right away at his face. Moonglow stretched across the snow-covered earth, showing fresh marks circling the house. Steed prints new and planned. Whoever was out there wasn't going by, they were looking. He shut the entrance slowly, careful not to let it squeak, and rested his back against it for a second, hearing the far noises of motion beyond the plants. Inside, the Apache woman watched him closely, reading the strain in his arms before he said a single term. The kids had gone calm, their earlier ease replaced by natural worry. The fire continued to burn, but its comfort now felt weak, like a vow that could break at any instant. "They are chasing us," the woman said at last, her tone steady but heavy with fact. She shifted closer to the fire, not for heat, but so the kids could hear her. "My group was hit before morning. Those who fled were tracked. Those who dropped were not saved." Her gaze lowered, and for a second the power in her stance broke. "Their dad died buying us moments." The terms settled into the space like dust. Mike felt his mouth tighten. Loss was a speech he understood all too well. He had buried a spouse and kid years before, victims of a sickness that swept through the fields without kindness. Since then, he had learned to exist alone, believing separation was safer than connection. But standing there, hearing her account, he realized protection had never guarded him from hurt, only from goal. Hey folks, as this story builds to its peak, where are you listening from and what's the time showing? If it's keeping you hooked, go ahead and like and subscribe for similar tales. Outside, a stick broke. The woman jumped, naturally drawing the kids closer. Mike shifted between them and the entrance, raising his gun with quiet determination. He didn't know how many were out there or how needy they might be, but he knew one thing with complete clearness. He would not give these kids back to the blackness. "No one touches you tonight," he said, his tone low and sure. The biggest kid looked up at him, doubt and wish mixing in his gaze. The woman studied Mike's face, seeking for question and finding none. Slowly, she tilted her head, not in giving in, but in belief. Mike checked the gun, counting the shots, measuring the chances. He placed himself near the entrance, where the shades were thickest, every sense sharpened. The house, once a lonely cover, had become a mark drawn in the frost. As the evening pushed closer and the calm outside grew tight and strange, Mike understood that whatever occurred next would define more than just living. It would decide what kind of person he truly was. The first gunshot broke the calm just before morning, repeating across the iced fields like an alert to the earth. Mike fired from the opening, the gun's push hitting into his arm as a shade fell in the distance. Steeds yelled, people shouted, and disorder started in the blackness. Frost kicked up as shots tore through the evening air. But Mike held his spot, shifting with calm accuracy, born from years of tough existing. Inside the house, the Apache woman protected her kids, murmuring words she barely recalled. Her form curved guardingly over them. Every shot made her jump, yet she did not yell. She believed the man standing between her family and end, even though she had known him for less than an evening. The fire burned low, casting long, shaking shades on the barriers, as if the house itself were holding its air. The attackers did not expect fight. They had come looking for worry and weakness, not a man willing to battle for people who were not his own. When a second shot rang out, closer this time, Mike stepped forward without pause. His shoes crunched in the frost as he forced the danger farther from the house, using the blackness and land to his benefit. Minutes felt like hours, every inhale a risk, every shift a pick between life and loss. Then, as quickly as it had started, the sound faded. Feet pounded away into the distance, eaten by the huge emptiness of the fields. Mike remained still for a long second, hearing, counting the moments, waiting for any sign of comeback. Only the breeze replied him. When the sun finally broke the edge, pale glow spilled across the area, showing the calm result of the evening. The threat had gone. Slowly he lowered his gun and turned back toward the house. Inside, the Apache woman looked up, doubt written across her face as she realized they were still living. She stepped outside, the morning glow heating her skin, and drew a long, unsteady inhale. "You did not have to do this," she said gently. Mike shook his head. "Sometimes you do," he replied. The kids came out one by one, blinking against the sunlight, their worry replaced with careful amazement. The biggest smiled for the first time, a small, weak thing, but true. The woman met Mike's daze, thanks and sadness mixing in her look. "You gave us more than heat," she said. "You gave us tomorrow." He watched them stand there, living because of a pick made in a second of kindness. That evening, a basic question asked in need had turned a lonely house into a place of wish. And though the fields would remain hard and without mercy, something within Mike had altered forever, heated by a fire far stronger than any burning piece of wood. And that's the end of this moving story. Where did you hear it from, and what time is it where you are? If it touched you, please like and subscribe for more inspiring frontier tales.